wife and children. Everybody knows Flora and Maddie and Lily. Such a wonderful family. And God laid this on my heart many months ago. We've got so much to be thankful for. And perhaps some people would like to share that. And so Chad is going to be our guinea pig. Here, I got it, brother. It's all right. Yeah, I got it right here. I'm looking out for you. All right. So y'all make welcome, Brother Chad C.
Good morning, everyone. I have a prepared speech that I'd like to give, and I put it all on this little note of paper right here. Can everybody hear me good? I want you to know that I'm not nervous about what I'm doing, but I'm really nervous about what I'm going to tell you. So it's not what you want to hear. It's what I need to tell you. So, first of all, that's my wife and children. Now, I'm not telling you the story of my being saved. Most of you that have been around for a long time know me, know who I am, know all the things I've done, all the things I've done wrong, all the things I've done right, which is about 2. And I want to talk to you about a miracle that happened in my life, which is my wife and children. I'll give you a piece of my background first. About 2000, I'd gotten married, and the marriage didn't work out. It wasn't supposed to be. It was what I thought I needed to do because I was raised right with a good family and parents that loved each other and got married early, and they stayed together for a long time. But I wasn't supposed to be married to that young lady, and it didn't even last until the wedding pictures got back. I mean, that's how quick it was. We did get some good family photos that I still have, and we were all dressed up nice, so there was that. But most of those pictures had to be discarded. But I got divorced at a very early age, and I had kind of decided that probably I did not want to be married because I wasn't a very good husband and I wasn't a very good person to be in a relationship. I was very me motivated, and I like doing what I like to do. So I go off and I start working construction because I want to do something for myself. And then the bad times hit, and I had no money. And the tax bill came, and my sister told me I owed a bunch of taxes. And I said, I have 0 money, therefore I'll be paying 0 taxes. And I have to find a real job where I can pay my bills. So I had a friend who I'd met in high school who ran a staffing agency out in Lawrenceville. And I told him, I said, I'm struggling. I need anything. I'll take whatever you've got tomorrow. He said to me, I've got a forklift driving job in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I live in Commerce. He says, a $9 an hour job. I said, yes, I'll take it. I said, I have to give my boss 2 weeks notice, though. Will they wait for me? He said, probably not. I went and told my boss. He said, you can go tomorrow if you want to. I said, thank you very much. I got to have this job. So I went to that job, and within 2 weeks of working out at Goodwin in Lawrenceville, Georgia, I realized that I was the only shining white diamond in that building. And what I mean by that is there were 200 Hispanic people, and there was me. If they took an overview of that, of like us out in the parking lot, you'd say, there he is, right there. That's that guy right there. And I said to myself, what am I doing here? I have no money. I'm driving 45 minutes one direction to be able to make barely the ends meet, and probably not really make my ends meet. I had no insurance of any kind, and I just had a very gloomy outlook on how things were going in my life. And then I started noticing that people would look at me because I was the only non-Hispanic person in the building. And they would say, what is that guy doing here? Why is he here? how's he doing? Why is he working? Why does he wear the same clothes every day? Why doesn't he bring lunch? Why does he sit in the corner by himself? Why doesn't he smile more? At least they saw me working, is what I said to myself. They saw me doing the best that I could do. And some of the people there felt so bad for me, people that have nothing, that they would give me food. They would talk to me. And one of the ladies that I talked to was Louisa. And Louisa was friends with my wife. But when I started working out there on the lines, you have to understand that it's not like it is right here, where I look out and I see Miss Marie very clearly. And I see Miss Kay very clearly. And I see my Uncle T very clearly. They're very easy to see, you guys. We worked 12 lines. There were about 10 to 12 people on each line, and all the stuff was mashed into a room that was basically 3 times as big as this room. So it was just a mass of people, and I was very busy all the time. And some girls came up to me and wanted to talk to me because they thought I was an American that had a lot of money, and they didn't realize I was working the same job they were working. They didn't realize that I was the same as they were. But one day, I noticed that as I started getting more comfortable in talking to people, that there was one girl that never stopped working and never looked at me and never said anything to me and didn't really want to have anything to do with me. And therefore, challenge accepted. So I asked Louisa about the girl. She said to me that she's floor and she's here to work and she's not very interested in people. And I said, great, neither am I. We've already got that in common. And so I went to one of the guys that I felt I could trust. Like I could trust because I'd only been there for about 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks. And I want you to understand that I have absolutely no idea what I do. I had absolutely no plan in being married to anyone, ever. Especially at that time. It was still really early in my single life at that time. And I went to one of the guys, Juan Gonzalez, and I said to him, Juan, I don't know how to speak Spanish. If you could write down something on a piece of paper for me, I'd appreciate it. And I said, if there's cuss words in it, I'm going to beat you to death. And he said, no, I can tell you're serious. I said, can you write, would you like to go out on a date with me? On a piece of paper. And so he did. And I went up to her. I see it now. I read it to her. And she ignored me. She didn't shake her head. No. She didn't shake her head. Yes. She looked back long enough for me to say the words. And then she looked back at the line and went back to work with no emotion at all. And so I went into Juan's office and I beat him to death because I said, you put cuss words on this piece of paper. And he said, no, I didn't. She just doesn't like you. And I said, fair enough. I've been there before. So I went back the next day and I read the sentence to her again. And this time she looked at me and she just shook her head no. And I said, well, at least I know that is a sentence in Spanish because she responded this time. So that went on for the rest of that week. And the next week, I went in and I asked her again. And her friend Louisa saw her say no to me. And so they got together to the side during lunch. I had made enough friends where I was playing soccer outside at this time because I had no lunch. And she said, why don't you talk to that guy? What's wrong with him? And she said, look at him. White guy, wears the same clothes every day. I don't even know if he bathes. And I was like, I wash my clothes. You just don't see me wash them. And she told Louisa, she said, you don't ever do anything for yourself. You work 2 jobs and you only work. Why don't you go do something for yourself? And so because Louisa said, go out on a date with me, the next time I walked up to her, she didn't say yes, but she shook her head yes. And what I didn't know was that she spoke zero English and I spoke zero Spanish. So we go out on our first date, and I meet her at the plant because I don't have any idea where she lives. And I talk to these guys in the plant, and I say to myself, guys, it's first date. I want something nice. I want something authentic. I want something that she's going to enjoy. I want to make an impression on her. So I wore different clothes, and I went and picked her up. And I talked to these guys, and they told me about this really good taco place. And I said, tacos, man, slam dunk. She's got to love tacos. What I'm thinking. Who doesn't? Well, we get to the place. I followed the instructions on how to get there. This was pre me having a smartphone or anything like that. And it's in Lawrenceville, near where she lives. And when I pull up in the parking lot, the name of the place is Arcoides. It means the rainbow. It's a supermarket and a laundromat, and it's got 3 tables to serve tacos at. And after I walked the long way around the car to let her out so I could get my red face and frustration out of my body because I'm walking into this place on my first date. I smiled it up. We went in. She had some tacos. I dared not order anything because I was the only white dude in there. And I said to myself, this is probably not going to be as good as I thought it was going to be. We got done. I paid for her $7 worth of tacos, which was $7 of the $20 that I brought for that date. And I asked myself, what can we do for $13 or less? And what we could do was drive to the brand new Mall of Georgia and walk around and look at stuff. And so we did. We didn't buy anything, but we looked at everything. And then we sat outside by that fountain that's still there today on a bench and watched people. And we didn't say anything. Because every time I talked to her, it would be like talking to that plant right there. She would look at me like, why are you speaking? I do not speak English, crazy man. And she said 5 words the whole date. 2 of which were hello and, like yes, when I said, would you like to get in the car? And the other ones were take me home. And so we went home. And I took her back to the place where we worked, and I dropped her off. And I said, well, that was a disaster. We'll just chalk that up to never doing that again. But I went in on Monday, and I asked her out again for the next weekend. And to my surprise, she said yes. Now, when you talk to her and you ask her about that, she says she felt so comfortable with me that she knew that she could be with me because she didn't feel threatened and she felt very at ease around me. Now, you explain that. You explain how 2 people that don't talk to each other can do that. It's powerful, very powerful. I have to check my notes. Now, this next weekend, I said, I'm making up for that mistake. I'm not listening to any of these fools that I work with. I'm going to find a place to take her to. And I said, but I'm not going to pick you up at the plant. I'm picking you up at your house. And I'll walk to the door, and it'll be like a real date. And this one, the first one won't count. We won't talk about the first one. But this will be number 1. And all that was in my head because if I say it to her, she didn't know anyway. It didn't matter. So I went, and she gave me the directions to her house. And because I'm a man, even though the directions were very confusing and I did not know where they were going, I'd said, yes, this is great. I'll use these directions to get to your house. And the one part that worried me was I had to drive all the way to Norcross, is where she stayed. And I had to get off at Beaver Ruin and had to take a left at Sammy's. Now, the only Sammy I've ever met was a guy that I went to high school with. And so in my mind, I'm hoping there's a dude standing on the corner somewhere going, I'm Sammy, take a left here. When I get out there, there's a convenience store called Somi's. And fortunately, I connected the dots. And I went and she met me at the road, which I thought was weird. She was waiting for me to get there. And we got in the car and we went and had a date. I remember pulling over because we were going to do a double date this time. I thought it might be important for her and I to be able to say 5 words to each other and understand it. So I took another couple with me. I told them, I said, I'll pay for you as long as you don't buy anything over $5. And we can have a date. And they got separated from us. I picked her up separate. I wanted it to be kind of private. And then they drove in another car. Well, when I went and picked them up and they followed us, we got to a red light and they didn't turn, and I did, going to the place I was going. So I had to pull over on the side of the road and wait for them because they didn't know where we were going. And so I looked at her, and she's sitting in the passenger side of my car, and I said, hey, you know what some people do when they're parking? You know, like kiss and stuff. She don't speak English. She crawled as far away from me to that window. If you could have scratched your way out of a window, she would have been out on the side of the highway running back to her house. And it was just like that for the first month, 2 months, where nothing I said felt right, nothing I did was right. Every time we went somewhere, it wasn't as good as I thought it should have been. And then I just realized she just kept saying yes when I'd ask her out. So I said, she must be the most pathetic person that I've ever met if she can't find anybody other than me to go out with. She must be so sad that I'm the only person that will ask her out. I didn't realize she's saying no to these other guys, that she just wanted to work. I said, how is it that she keeps saying yes to me and we're having the worst time ever? And you go back and it's the best times that she had ever had since she came to the United States. It was the only time she'd had. And it was fun. I remember when I decided I was going to ask her to marry me. She was going to make chicken soup. And I said to myself, chicken soup, simple enough. You go to the store, you buy chicken, and you make soup. Where would you like me to get you some chicken from? She explained to me that we needed to have live chickens, that chicken in the store was inadequate. And I said, fine. Do you know a farmer in Norcross? And she said, no, but I do know of a place. And so we drove about 45 minutes to a place off 985. And we walk into this barn. And I'm the man. So I get out and I'm talking to the farmer and I was like, yeah, I need some chickens, you know. Need some big ones. We make a lot of soup, you know, chickens. We're going to kill them. Stuff like that. And he goes, well, I got cages down here in the bottom of the barn. These are 2 for $10. Those are 3 for $10. These are 3 for $20. Different chickens, different kinds, different sizes. And I looked at her, and by that time I could speak a little Spanish. And I was like, you know, what chickens you want, babe? You know, it's all up to you now. Game's on. We're down here in the chicken coop. And she goes, I want these chickens right here. I need 3 of them. And then I turned to the guy just like this. It was this fast. Sir, I'm going to get 3 of these chickens right here. If you can just open that gate for me. By the time I turned around, she was in the coop with 3 chickens in her hand. And she was blowing on their butts. I don't know what that means. But she had them upside down. You farmer? I don't know. She's blowing on their butts. All right, and it was all clean. It wasn't nothing inappropriate. But I said, sir, we're going to have to take those chickens. She's blowing on their butts. So we'll have them 3 and then 2 dozen eggs because I feel like I've violated something down here. So if I get them 2 dozen eggs, I appreciate it. So we get there and the guy says to me, it was 3 for $20. And he gave me the eggs for $2. So for $22, he said, for $25, I'll pluck those feathers, clean them chickens, and have them ready for you to put in the soup pot. I wasn't looking forward to killing chickens. So I was like, you got it, bro. 25 coming right out. She looked at me, and in the first few English words I'd ever heard her say, she said, I will murder those chickens. I was like, we're going to murder the chickens, man. So you better back up. Step away from that box of chickens if you know it's good for you. And that day is when I said, I'll marry her. Because if I don't, she will murder me. But in all honesty, I knew it. Because that was it. It just came over me. But then I had to introduce her to my family. They didn't even know about her. So I met my mom and dad at the fanciest restaurant that I could afford, which was Applebee's. And I introduced her to my mom and dad. And they spoke zero Spanish, and she spoke very little English. So I translated in what I like to refer to as Spanglish for an hour and a half. And it was perfect because they only heard what I thought she wanted them to say or what she thought she wanted them to hear, and vice versa. So they got off like a rocket. It was great. No problems whatsoever. But I told you all that. That's not the part that I'm nervous about. The part that I'm nervous about is this. I told you every bit of that to let you know that my wife has never lied to me, not one time in my life. And on the second date that we went on, she told me she was an illegal alien. Now, I didn't know that I knew that I was going to marry her, but I knew the second time that I talked to her. And I had to decide because I'm not an advocate for that. I don't want you to think that I am. As a matter of fact, if you'd asked me before I met my wife, I probably would be 180 of an advocate of that. But she's standing right in front of me. And I already know that I love her. And she never asked one thing from me. So I decided when I went home that night, I was up at 3:30 in the morning last night, by the way. Not because I'm nervous about this, but because of me having to give y'all this information. And I talked to my wife about it. Because my wife thinks that y'all ain't going to look at her the same and ain't going to love her. I want y'all to know that. But I talked to her about that, and I got her permission. So I'm not saying this behind her back. I'm saying it with her blessing. But I asked her 3 questions that next day when I came back, before we went on our second date. I said, do you want to speak English? And she said, I very much want to speak English. And I said, good. I said, do you want to pay taxes? Because I don't want to go to jail. She said, yes, I'll pay all my taxes. And I said, that's good. That's good. And I said, do you want to be a United States citizen? Or you want to be a Mexico citizen? She said, I want to live in the United States. I said, okay. I said, that's all I need to know. Before that day, I thought that 2 people met, they got married, then you went to the place, wherever that place was, and you said, my wife is not a citizen, but she married me and I am a citizen. Could I please have her be a citizen now? And they say, sure, fill these forms out and give us $500 and she'll be a citizen tomorrow. That ain't how that goes. My wife became a resident of the United States almost 2 years ago. And we've been trying since the day I met her. Trying to be a resident of the United States. She's not a citizen yet, but she'll take her test next year or later this year. Now, I tell you all that because the miracle was that 2389 up there. She was born exactly 2,389 miles from me. Yet I met her in Lawrenceville at a job that I didn't want. Couldn't make ends meet at. Didn't understand how I got there. The only reason I got there was because I was nice to a Hispanic dude that I knew in high school, and he was the only Hispanic dude I ever went to school with. And when I called him and found out he could get me a job, he did. Now, the miracles just kept coming, though. If that wasn't enough, my wife got pregnant, which was awesome. She said it was mine, which was double awesome. And then her mom died. And so she's in the United States, and her mom passes away in Mexico. And she's pregnant with our first baby. And if your mom died, you'd want to be at her funeral. Well, if she goes back to be at her mom's funeral, more than likely I'll never see her again. She didn't go. She stayed with me. You don't know what kind of sacrifice that is unless you've done it. She cries every day when she talks about her mother. She's never been to her grave. She will go this year, I hope. That's a miracle. Number 2, miracle. We've been together for, I'll say, the girls were maybe 6 and 5. So 2011. We'd been married for 8 years. I've got 2 young children. She's driving down the road. She gets pulled over at a traffic stop. Y'all all know what happens when you get pulled over at a traffic stop. Well, they got it set up a certain kind of way. You got the dudes in the front that are telling you to stop, traffic stop up here. Then you get on up to the traffic stop and they tell you, you're going to pull over or you're not going to pull over. A young Georgia State Patrol deputy, white guy, saw her, asked for a license. She didn't lie. Said, I don't have a license. Not a citizen. He flashed a little flashlight in the back at the 2 kids in the car seats. He said, you turn around, you go home right now. And she did. And she's still here now. She gets arrested. She goes back. And it's a minimum of a 10-year window before I can get her back. Unless I do something illegal. And just so you know, families in Mexico ain't any different than families in the United States. The kids go with the mama. Unless the mama's done something horribly wrong. So, I was that close to losing my entire family because of a traffic stop. Now look, I understand that what my wife did was illegal, and she does too. But she ain't never tried to make any excuses for that, and she ain't never asked for anybody to do anything for her. On top of that, and all that stuff that could have happened bad was of her own doing. But I'm just telling you that God gave me miracles in my life to keep my family together and keep her right here with me. So 2 years ago, almost, she went to the Ciudad Juarez, and I sent her over there by herself because I had to stay with the girls. Life goes on. And the lawyer tells me straight up, he said, this is a 50-50 thing. Y'all done everything you're supposed to do. You're good as far as that goes. You go over there on that day. She's going to talk to a guy. He's going to ask her 2 questions. She's going to answer them with the with the answers. And then he's going to say, stamp it, go back, or stamp it, you go back to Mexico. Because she's in Mexico at the Ciudad Juarez at the consulate. She's there for 2 weeks. Every single day, I got up early, made sure the girls were ready. I had to drop them off at school at 7 o'clock because I had to be at work on time. Every single morning, I wondered, is this the day they're going to call me and tell me that my wife is going to be deported to Mexico? She went and had her questions. And they said, stamp it, you're good to go. Now, they don't see her family, and they don't allow me to be there. Those people don't know anything about me. They don't know anything at all. They don't know how it would have affected anything. And I thought to myself, why has God blessed me this much with a person like this? I mean, y'all don't even know me. She puts up with me. The way I am, that's the way I am all the time. That's cool for an hour on Sunday, but she got 24 hours a day of that. You know? She hangs with me on everything. She hung with me on this. She did not want me originally to talk to y'all about this. She backs my play all the time. That's the way it is. But I knew 4.5 years ago the reason why 2,389 miles later we bumped into each other. When in Sunday school at this very church, my wife got saved in that room right back there. And if you don't think Sunday school is important, my wife got saved because of everything that everybody did, but that Sunday school is what made her feel like she was okay and acceptable in God's eyes. She never thought she was good enough for any of that until she went to Sunday school and it explained it to her. It took months and months and months of Sunday school and people talking to her for her to understand that. She grew up Catholic, but wasn't a practicing Catholic. And when she moved in with me, I told her, we're Christians, and we're the Baptist kind, which means when we go to church, don't say nothing. But then I understood more than that later, the reason why that we traveled that far to meet each other. Because both of my children have been raised up by her in the first few years of their life, brought to this church at her request. I wasn't practicing a Christian as I should have been. And now both of my children are saved because of her and my family and all of y'all in here that deal with them on a daily basis. But would you not travel 2,389 miles to know that 3 people got saved? That's what my wife did. And that's the miracle of my life, meeting her every single day. I just want you guys to understand that it's not always like they say it is on TV. TV is a fantasy. What's reality is what's right in front of you. And if you can take the time to understand that the only reason that we're here is to have a right relationship with God, then whatever you have to do that is what you should do. That's the decisions that you have to make. That's all I got.
I'm always I try to be prepared. And so I treated this week like I would a week that I knew I would be preaching. Just in case something were to happen, or he gave a 2-minute testimony, whatever. The title to the message that God laid on my heart was this: God will make a way. God will make a way. And it's hardly ever our way, because God's ways are different than the ways of man. Where is Flora? She's in children's church. Well, I think each and every one of you will share my sentiments on the worries that Flora had. I love her more now than I did before. And she'll get it done. We'll pray that everything goes as it's supposed to go, as we desire it to go. And you cannot put a price on salvation. 3 people coming to know Christ over 2,389 miles. That's pretty exceptional. But we worship an exceptional God. You may be facing adversity. It may not be 2,389 miles worth. But whatever it is, God cares about it. See, that's one of the greatest things about God, is He does not have respect of different people. In other words, He does not respect me more than He does you. My problem's not any greater in His sight as yours is. And God can take care of anything. God will make a way. God will make a way. He parted the sea when the odds seemed that they were totally against the children of Israel. With the tip of the staff of Moses, the waters parted. This morning, maybe you need God to part the sea for you, to do something fantastic in your life. He can, and He will. Let's all stand to our feet this morning. Let's turn to page 504. Without Him, I could do nothing, and that's for sure. Let's all sing and respond as God may be tugging on your heart today. We sing this chorus. God's dealing with your heart. Would you come? Just call on the name of Jesus. There's no name like the name Jesus. There's nothing you can accomplish with Jesus. You can get to heaven with Jesus. You can have hope with Jesus. The question would be, is He your Jesus? on, church, sing it. Are you saved? Is He your Jesus today? He died on an old rugged cross for a young woman 2,389 miles away. Two precious children who surrendered themselves to Christ. What a blessing. What a story. Every head bowed and every eye closed. Musicians continue to play. These last fleeting moments that you have the opportunity to lay everything at the feet of Jesus. He conquered tremendous miles. He parted the sea for the children of Israel to walk through on dry ground. That same God is calling out to you today. Would you answer Him? Maybe just utter now, oh God, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for my family. So thankful for my friends, for my church. It might be, God, here I am. And I've got anger built up in my heart. God, here it is. I have frustration. I have hopelessness. God, I need you to take it away. Just call on His name. Diligence. You know, we're bad as Christians at starting something, not following it through. I'm glad old Chad kept bothering Floor. He didn't give up. So many times we just give up. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Don. Thank you. 5:15. Be back here tonight at 5:15 for the VBS meeting. Be